host. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the most and yet often misunderstood challenge of depression. So, if you guys or anyone you know is struggling, you're not alone. This podcast reminds you that there are hope, healing, and community. We'll be sharing real stories, expert insight, and practice tools to help you understand and navigate the complexity of depression. And may everyone please introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ramanagiri. I will be the moderator today.
Hello, my name is Angelina Mom, and I will be managing the stream today.
Hi, my name is Casey Chambliss, and I am a certified trauma recovery specialist as well as a certified mindful technician. And I'm looking forward to help in any way that I can as far as giving a insight and or in the side on what you can do in order to not feel alone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brendan Gadibai. I'm a second-year college student in Southern California, and I'm someone who also has suffered from such issues. And leading to, I'm able to lend a helping hand, hopefully, to everyone from my own personal opinions and perspectives about it.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on stream today, and you being here present is very important. And thank you and shout out to Brendan for you to show your bravery to come up to the podcast and talk about your experience. It's very important. And thank you, Cassie, for being here and giving your expertise advice to help us, not just us, but everyone in our communities to to help fight this tough battles in our life. And before we start, I would like to, Roman, would you mind doing a shout out?
Yes. Before we start, I'd like to shout out Cassie Chamberlain, who is here today with us. She is the host of the Narcissist podcast. So please, whenever you have a chance, go ahead and check that out. Also, shout out to Nikki Estes, who cannot be here today, but she is also working with Back to Back and Team Founder Scale. We also want to shout out Nick Larson, the host of Silicon Zombies, who also put us in contact with these fine people today.
Okay, thank you so much, Roman. We appreciate it. Okay, and Roman, like, would you mind doing the honors, starting out our first question for our special guest?
Yes, I believe I have that pulled up right here. Okay. So let's go ahead and start. If we start with you today.
Not at all.
All right. So the first question that we have for you is, can you share some effective personal strategies or coping mechanisms that have helped you manage depression?
Absolutely. I've struggled with depression on and off. I would say throughout my entire life. There's so many different aspects of our modern day society that really foster not only a negative self-image but foster a grind and hustle culture and necessitate it with regards to how expensive everything is and just the cost of living can be really exorbitant. So one of the things I've tried to focus on throughout my life is trying to look at what I can control versus what I cannot control. And a lot of times the things that I cannot control are what are really giving me a lot of stress in that. And so one of the things I really try to be in control of is my time. A lot of people say protect your peace, protect your peace. And it really is important. Protect and making sure that you do the time for self-care. And something that we instituted in my household is mental health care days. All of my children, once a month, if you need a mental health care, if you are, it's rough in school. Today's day and age, high school, college, middle school, it's a lot. There's stress. And, even with allowing my children to have one day a month where they can, have a mental health day, where they can stay home from school, they can, have that time to, regroup, to go in and, set time, prepare, or just play video games the day, just watch TV, just do a veg day that really allows them without pressure, without judgment, that time and space, so that when you're having so much buildup and so much anxiety, so much stress because of the day-to-day grind, you have that ability to, relax. You would think that, my children would at least once a month, they would be begging for a mental health day, but I haven't noticed that. I would say on average, my children take approximately 1 to 3 a year amongst the three, amongst the three of them. So it really is something. It's also that ability of knowing that you can. And so I think that right there, allowing yourself to know that it's okay to feel the feelings that you're feeling. We have emotions, we are humans, and you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself empathy, and you have to be kind to yourself, because the world can be so, 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 so unkind on. Ooh, that so right there is, the biggest piece of advice that I really have, that has helped me, that I've seen help others as well, is allowing themselves that time group to get better, to rejuvenate, and then reattack the world, reattack that to-do list, reattack your assignments, your homework, or whatever it is that you have to do, with a new vigor and with a refreshed sense of ingenuity. Now, that's not all, sunshine. That's not to say that, that's going to fix everything. However, it does help to foster that culture of self-care and that culture of self-love, which can be really hard to do when you're struggling to get out of bed in the morning alone, let alone complete tasks that are meant to do at work, at home, or at school.
I think that's beautiful, Cassie. You really strike a lot of good points there. Uh, it's not being talked about enough. We're barely talking about it now. We created this channel just so people can hear about this. We want to share people's stories. We want to share the real life truths about things that people may not be talking about. So for you to talk about that, for you to experience that, and to share that with us, we truly appreciate that. Brendan, I'm going to go ahead and reread the question, and if you wouldn't mind answering the question, and however way you feel comfortable. So the question again is, can you share some effective personal strategies or coping mechanisms that have helped you manage your depression?
To be honest, it's kind of hard when I think about what have I done. But as far as my mechanisms, my coping mechanisms, to be honest, off the bat, I can tell you, as a college student, the way I have my mechanisms. I just eat food, right, and in a way where it's unhealthy. I admit I have an unhealthy eating where to cope with whether it's an unexpected turnout, a bad test, rough day. I go get some ice cream, and I mean, yeah, no, don't get me wrong, it's fine to get it every once in a while. But I think that it's really important to identify a very healthy way of approaching your mechanism, right? For me, I understand that this is not always a positive route, right? It's not like you want to take the time to alleviate some of those stresses with these mechanisms, but you're not trying to get it into a way that it's going to become unhealthy for me. In my case, it would be unhealthy to my exact health, right? An increase in chance in diabetes, knowing that I'm Mexican and I have outreaches of those genetically. But that's kind of one of the main thing. Another thing is, at the end of the day, I don't have any kids, but I have my little brother, right? And when you have a long, stressful day, it's really good to just talk about your day to your family members, right? You don't ever want to keep it bottled inside, because that's where my problem lies. So just talking to people as much as I can, and the unhealthy way, I admit, but it still works for me, is I gotta get a tub of ice cream every now and then. So
Yes, I agree. I
Thank you
mean,
for
for
sharing that,
me,
Brendan.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I feel like, yes, even food is a way to help cope with our stress, but at the same time, not to overeat it. Like I cope with my own personal stress with food. Hang out with people, and I feel like having a community is very important to help tackling like these problems. I feel like there's just so much things that can cause depressions in our life.
And honestly, I do the same thing. I jumped into something that's super unhealthy. My main obsession outside of school and work is basketball. I love playing basketball. I love reading about basketball. I love watching basketball. And when the season comes around, I get unhealthily addicted to it. I come home, I want to watch the game. I stay up watching whatever game has happened. You know, being able to be obsessed with something that isn't about my life is easier than trying to figure out what's going on, what's wrong, and how I can deal with it. It's it's sad to say that it's easier that way, but it's a lot of hard work to put that work in and try to overcome that challenge. So, we all feel those things, and I'm not sure if Angelina, you'd like to share something with that as well.
Honestly, I kind of I kind of have like the opposite problem where, yes, eating helps, but like there are times when I wouldn't eat in long periods merely because I think like, oh, as long as I'm done with um, as long as I finish like my activities and then I'll eat. But I end up building this unhappy habit of actually pushing it off and not even completing work. And yeah, so I'm not saying I'm necessarily jealous, but like I feel like I would really like a balance of, you know, just normal eating and stuff.
All right, guys. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our second question. The second question is mainly for Cassie. So, Cassie, what is the best resource for finding information if someone doesn't know or doesn't want to talk to a person who's a professional or, someone close to them, someone that they know?
So many resources available with regards to your comfort level and reaching out. I think it's so important that you do speak to someone, and if you don't feel comfortable speaking with a friend or a family member or a school counselor, there are, if you're a college student, every college and or university has a psychology and or behavioral health services department, and they have counseling services on hand. They don't know you. They're not able to, have the records and or, attach that to your, student record or anything like that, but they are available to speak to you. And there is several 24-hour lines as well. I'm going to pull up that, and I apologize for not having that ready. That you're able to reach out and talk to, and specifically, there are apps available, at least within America, if you're in the United States. Sondermind is one that I absolutely love, and I personally have used for years, since 2017, actually, or no, I'm sorry, since 2019. And it's kind of, I call it like speed dating for therapy. You write your bio, and this is what I'm having, right? And then it's anonymous. It's not right next to it, sent out to a bunch of like psychologists or therapists. It's something that is able to be referenced, and the therapist and their counselors are able to see, okay, this is what they're struggling with. I have expertise, or I know I have a specialty in this. And then you're able to see and choose from therapists. And if you have a session and you don't like the therapist, it's as simple as you don't have to tell them and break up with them face to face and have that awkward conversation. Oh, I don't really like you. This isn't working out. It's not you with me, type thing. You're able to have that situation. It's just a click, click on your phone, and you can, try another therapist and find someone that aligns with you. And with that, the amount of different insurances, or if you don't have insurance, I believe it's $25, either a session or a month, after. It is really inexpensive, and a lot of times you find therapists who are willing to see you pro bono if you're struggling, if you're a student, if you have financial issues. Part of therapists, I'm in school, path to become a clinical psychologist, and part of our accountability, part of our values, part of our moral, part of our decree is helping. And you absolutely make sure that you have someone, that you're not sitting with these feelings alone. So with that being said, I'll say that's a lot of words to say. Sondermine is one. Um, And I'm going to mute myself until I'm able to find that resource, and I'll send that over so that can be sent in the chat for the stream.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cassie.
Sorry. It's Sondermine, correct? I have the link. I'll just send it in the chat.
Awesome. And I have a question for you. So we want to ask, what type of methods have you tried to help your depression when you were facing that battle?
I think the biggest person to help me overcome there's two people actually. My closest friend, childhood friend, and my father. Talking to them really helped me get that idea out, and it's really one thing that stuck to me. Life seems as when you're such a like young, right? You're 18 years old. You're such a young life. It seems easy. It seems so easy. It seems like it's a straight line, right? But what I learned from someone older, someone with real perspective, my father, life, it never happens the way it's supposed to. And I never really griped with that idea. And him explaining that's such a concept to me, and explaining it, in Mexican culture is still a thing, right? And I'm sorry, in other countries as well. Depression is not something that is talked about. It's not something that is profound and loud. It's something kept under the rug, right? But he had the strength to describe to me how I can overcome this situation. Conversations with my father. I'm lucky enough to have a great relationship with him, and I just build on everything that he's been able to teach me, and everything that all the mistakes that he's made in his life. And I've been thankful that we've talked about that so much. That my friend Matthew showing that my problems are helping me realize that internally my problems that I have are problems that other people have as well, and I can't let that hold me down. That was the biggest thing. I felt that these issues were justified only to myself, right? And there's one final thing. The light at the end of the tunnel was my younger brother. I love this little dude so much, and I try to be someone brighter and someone stronger for him. So seeing him grow and develop, trying to be somewhat of a father figure to him at times, it really being able to be someone who not only acts as a leader, as a strong person, but in themselves resembles someone who is strong. That's a reason why I get up and I go to class at 8 a.m. That's a reason why I try to grind out these linear algebra exam that I have tomorrow. It's small steps that I want to encompass for him, because I know for me it was never really like that. Dealing with my situation was different than him, but I want to be someone strong that I had, that I was never really found that much at times when I was younger. So those are the three reasons: my friends, being a role model, and mainly my father to kind of provide me a guideline.
I think that's beautiful. We always want to do best for the people around us, and for your friend, your dad, and then especially for your little brother to be the light at the end of that tunnel is it's just beautiful. There's no way I can really describe it. It's just something about life that you want to keep on doing. You want to keep attacking, even if it's not for yourself. This fight that you have going, as your friend, I've seen it happen, and I've tried to be there as much as possible. I'm glad that you've overcome things, and I'm really happy to see the place that you're in. You're such a strong person. You're so committed, and honestly, you're one of my greatest friends. I appreciate you being here, and I just wanted to say that little part right there. So for this next part, we're going to go ahead and move on to another question. Cassie, we have a question for you. So many people experiencing depression often struggle with reaching out for help due to their feelings of shame or hopelessness. What would you say to them? Like, what's the advice that you would give them who are feeling overwhelmed by their depression and they're unsure of where or how to start seeking support?
That's a great, and that is not a normal feeling. That is so so understandable, and one of the things that I found that I would recommend is texting home to 741741. Just crisis line, text volunteer crisis counselors. And with that, you are not alone, and there are people that support you. There is a community. And if in that moment there is not someone that is available and you don't have anyone to talk to, please reach out and please make that text, make that call. You're absolutely worthy. And the heart, the heart with everything. And, thinking with respect to the amount of lives that's lost because of that fear, because of not having that place to reach out, not having the ability, the confidence, the experience with people caring about you, to think that someone will care in this time. I just hope that you try again and know that it will be different. And it's it takes a lot to take that first step, but it's all worth it, and absolutely something that is commendable and commemorable. And if it's little steps at a time. Healing isn't linear. It's not something where all right, I got made the call, I have my first counseling session, I had my therapist session, I'm healed. Absolutely not. You're not leaping and bounding. You're not Usain Bolt, like going to the finish line. There's absolutely going to be maybe one step forward, right? And then there's going to be maybe a shuffle to the left, right? There's going to possibly be a half step forward, then maybe 2 steps back, and that's followed by 3 steps forward, right? And then maybe another step right. And it's not linear. Healing is not linear, and it's something that is absolutely worth the joy, worth finding glimmers of light, finding something that is able to make you smile, and something as simple as seeing a flower, or seeing your brother, seeing a family member, seeing a friend, getting the grade you wanted, getting the assignment, being able to talk to someone, being able to have that space is absolutely important. And with that, if you are feeling, alone, please, again, text, the crisis text line, that it's 24/7. You don't have to talk to someone, right? Just type it in, and just type and text home to the 741741. And that is, I would say, the space thing that I probably have utilized far more times than I would care to admit.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I feel like it's very important to have that, have people to share out what they really concerned about. And I do have a questions about like like for those people that doesn't have, that couldn't summon the courage to help reach out to get themselves help. Like what's your suggestion help them get out of those atmosphere? Like even having that little encouragement for them to get help.
That's a really good question. And it's I feel so tricky, because everyone's going to be different with regards to that. But ultimately, I feel like that is what is the magic of each individual person, is you're worth it. That is my message to those that are struggling, is you're worth it. You are not alone. And if it feels like it is so difficult to get out of it, know that if you are able to get out of bed, if you're able to do some hygiene, and I'll be for myself, hygiene can be among the hardest things. And when you're struggling with depression, getting out of bed is difficult. Getting in and looking at yourself in the mirror is difficult. That's not even getting out of the door, right? And so if you find yourself in that space, know that you are not alone. And please, reach out to someone. There is someone there. If you are unable to reach out, try to start and write something down. And if you're able to, try to find a glimmer. Science has proven, not to get technical, but if you're able to find 3 things and write them down that you're grateful for, that you can be thankful for. And I'll be honest, there are so many days where I wasn't thankful to be alive. I lost there was one successful, not an attempt, but I was, had to be resuscitated. I can't tell you how many times I've woken up in the hospital inpatient because of attempts. And not once did I wake up in a sense of feeling better because I attempted, feeling like anything mattered, you know? And so what really helped and changed was trying to simple things to be thankful for. And in all honesty, when I didn't even, I wasn't thankful that I was waking up meant nothing but flash. But all of these times, but it started with, it was a butterfly. Because I couldn't be thankful to see my child because I couldn't see my children. And so that I couldn't be thankful for that, you know, when you don't, because when you attempt life to end your life, generally speaking, you're not necessarily stable enough to have your children around you. So that being said, I couldn't thank my children, right? I couldn't thank them. They were my reason. They're my joy, my joy, you know, my reason for living. And so I had to find joy outside of that. And it was, you know, butterfly, flower, nature, you know, getting out, getting more and trying to, as ridiculous as it is, you know, the meme, touch grass. But that vitamin D, it really does help. Getting out into nature, feeling the sun on your skin, seeing what you can be thankful for, and just the simplicity of going to the park, going for a walk, you know, going around the block, going somewhere that is outside of the four walls that has confined you, that is the solace and safety of your bedroom, you know, is you can find one thing on your first day to be thankful for. Oh, that's a huge win. That's a success. The next day, if you're able to find then two things, if you can write down two things that day that you can be thankful for, fantastic. You just took two steps forward, linear in a row. Then on that third day, you're able to write and find three things that you're thankful for. And keep a notebook on you. If you have a cell phone, who doesn't? Open up your notes app, write it in a note, gratitude note, right? I saw a bird. It made a whistle sound. It was dope. You know, I heard a song when I was walking through the store. It was awesome. Something simple. And, you know, in my, we call those glimmers. Something that brought a smile, something that brought joy, because there's so much hard in your life, different aspects, so much negativity, so much expectations, so much unrealistic expectations, so many standards, so many mixed emotions, so many things that you have to be this, you have to be that, you have to feel this, you have to do this. Well, how? They don't tell you that. You just have to do it. But if you take a breath, if it's hard to take a breath, take that breath slow. Hold it for 4 counts. It's called box breathing. You go 1, 2, 4. Learn to be thankful for. And on that third day, if you've been able to write down those 3 things in that one day that you're grateful for, that you're able to be thankful for, that glimmer of joy that you found in your day, you've just taken 3 linear steps forward in your healing journey, which most people can't do. And that's, you should be incredibly proud of yourself. My advice for that, and that's really long-winded. I do apologize. I know I didn't normally try to time myself so I don't talk too much. But that is absolutely what I say is you're worth it. And I hope that I get a chance to talk to you. Like the different things that you're able to collect of joy in your life.
Thank you for sharing.
Cassie, that was awesome.
And but even having people important in your life inspire someone to live and give them a purpose. And with that, I mean, I feel very grateful with the people around me. And by listening to you, this helps me inspire and help others inspire. You know, to give them like the sense of purpose, and sense of purpose for their life, to go do great things and appreciate the things that they already have currently. What other people don't, not fortunate to have. And there's no such thing as speaking for too long. Everything you said is very important. It's a story that help inspire others.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And to add on to that, Cassie, I mean, that's just a beautiful story. To go from where you were to where you are today is just showing an example of what can happen if you do look at all the aspects in life in order to continue to want to live, to continue to even find the little things, like you said, a bird, a butterfly, and then maybe even your children if you see them, you know, and that's just super awesome. And I'm happy that you're on this path. I've only known you for maybe a couple of days or so, but it's so awesome to hear that story. You know, everybody has a voice, everybody needs to be heard. You know, Angelina and Abdus and I, you know, that's what we believe. That's why we made this podcast. Everybody has a voice, everybody needs to be heard. And I just can't stress that enough. So for Brendan to come on here, for you to come on here, to share your guys' stories, I'm just super thankful. I'm super grateful for this. You guys don't know what it means to me. Truly, it's something awesome. And then with that note, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question. So Brendan, this is for you. The question is, how has depression affected your personal relationships? And then if you feel uncomfortable with sharing a situation or a relationship, please let us know.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So my situation with depression kind of revolved around my school life. Right? As I mentioned before, I've actually really always had a great relationship with my father and my mother, most all my siblings and my parents. But the problem derived with me and my own expectations of myself. So my view of myself diminished who I thought was worthy of my time. So, for example, right, I love my father. I'd love to spend time with him. But as I seeped slowly into depression more, that structured relationship of love, it became distant, right? And it was felt on both ends. It was felt on both ends. First, to be honest, he thought he knew I was hiding something from him. He didn't know what it was, right? And it led to more negative and kind of harsh interactions between us. It really destabilized the foundations of our relationship. It made us really think twice about who, how to handle each other. Because I've always been a very easygoing person, like with my relationships and my family, right? I've never had any issues, stealing, lying, degrading anyone, nothing like that. I've always been very relatively easy to handle as a parent, you could say. But when it comes to a situation where I didn't even know who I was myself anymore, imagine how someone on the other side felt. So what happened is I destabilized. I kind of destroyed. I kind of burnt my bridges a lot. I mean, thankfully now I repair them every day as I go. But my evaluation, the way I thought of it was, I know that I'm not a worthy person. Why give my time? Why share my unworthiness to someone else, right? And that's where the heart of my destruction in my relationships happened. The only relationship I was able to keep stable were my friends, specifically that other friend I mentioned, Matthew. Um, because it's different. Obviously, you have different dynamics from a friendship and your parents. Luckily, he was able to help me navigate towards being more responsive and open to my dad. Because to be honest, my whole school situation was, I wasn't explaining what was happening in school. Right, I was having very big issues. To be honest, he actually thought that I had gotten someone pregnant without him knowing. He thought that's where the lie was, right? But no, the issue was with myself, right? I wasn't happy with my performance in school, so I wouldn't tell anyone about my performance in school. There would be days, weeks, months where I wouldn't attend classes. I wouldn't attend class, but no one would know that, right? So people would ask me questions about school, whether it be my tia, my dad, my nana, and it progressively got less. Oh yeah, less and less descriptions, right? So it was obvious there was something wrong there. So the depression that I faced obviously didn't help. To answer the question, it obviously didn't help my relationships at all. It diminished them to a very minuscule version of what they were. But luckily, through the years, I've been able to build them back up and build better. Building from such a downfall. Those bridges tend to get stronger and be stronger than before. So.
Thank you, Brendan. That's awesome. You know, in a way, I feel like I can also relate to that, where I just like totally, I felt like I lost myself. School was really hard. I didn't feel motivated. I didn't want to get up out of bed. I hated the week. I woke up, I wanted to not be here anymore. It's not something I want to talk about. It's not something I feel comfortable with sharing, but this space is here for that, to comfort people, to have them express themselves, to share their stories like you just did. Um, that that took a lot out of you, and I know it did. Seriously, we appreciate you so much. And to switch questions, Cassie, we have one for you. So, how do societal attitudes toward depression impact those who are experiencing it? And what changes do you think are necessary to improve support and understanding?
That's a fantastic question. There's been an incredibly significant stigma around mental health care, especially depression, mental health issues, stigmas around anxiety, depression, and it really is something that I'm excited to see change and shifting in company cultures and corporate cultures. Starting to see this focus on having that mental health. And one of the things that I'm seeing, at least on our end, is the PTSD is something first responders, nurses, firefighters, police officers, these individuals that are seeing some pretty horrific things and honestly getting PTSD from their job, and so these things, cortisol is being released in your brain, and structurally, it's being changed. And so with that, there is discussions with respect to the terminology being changed to PTSI, post-traumatic stress injury, right? So that there can be that shift, in the public's understanding of what it really is. Similarly with someone who broke a leg, you wouldn't tell them to walk it off. Why are you telling someone with depression to walk it off? So, and that's where different aspects of, healthcare, where only uh, can with the person, there, there's where there is clinical depression, or medication resistant depression. There is instances where there's a chemical imbalance with respect to what's going on in your brain. And so at the same token, are you going to shame someone who takes heart medicine for their heart for taking their medicine? Then why are you shaming someone for taking medication for depression to help them get through the difficult time? And a lot of different things of stigmas. The impact is shown with respect to the suicide rate amongst different mental health and struggles with dissociative identity disorder. It is 72%. That are something that are heavily, look at Split, right? And so we have different movies with regards to depression, but I don't know that there's really a lot of great representations in the media, outside of there's Dave, we don't talk to him anymore because he's depressed and sad, or XYZ. There's no one talking about your depression room, depression mess, where you have to do like clean because you're not able to for months and months and months, and you're not able to get yourself to, yes, put that wrapper in the trash. You can't, and so you get to the point where it's almost hoarding, and you have, an amount of things because you're unable to, which just is that cycle. And it really, really compounds things and makes it so much more difficult. And the stigmas surrounding it make it that much worse and that much more difficult to reach out and to get help and to say and to admit that you're struggling, because there's so much, not only self-shame, embarrassment, but the societal impact with regards to what people say, the different things. I love seeing the shift. There's a couple of cleaning services that offer and forgetting the name, and she's in London, but I know there's some in States, that very much enjoy cleaning, that very much love organizing, and it makes their heart sing to be able to help others. I know for me, it can be difficult to clean my own place, but let me get them to clean their depression hole. Let's go. Like, I will get them going. And that's one of the things, is it's okay to ask for help. And a lot of people don't want to, because of that stigma, because we don't want people to see my nest. This is my hobbit hole. Get out of my hobbit hole. This is my safety. Yes, I need all of these Burger King wrappers. Okay, they're my safety net emotional support wrappers. Okay, but ultimately, and that's the thing, is we need to normalize having emotions. We need to normalize self-care. We need to normalize recognizing when our friends may be struggling, and all right, let's check in. Let's normalize checking in with each other, not for assignments, but just, how are you doing, right? Like, and it's okay to do that. It's so scary. I feel like it can be that is.
I'm sorry, Cassie. We can't hear you anymore. Do you mind saying that part again?
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can hear you.
Perfect. Oh, geez. Is the stigmatization of depression, of anxiety, all these things, but it's not going to stop impacting unless we start talking about it. And so that's where, like things like these podcasts, where you're coming together, where you're able to have these conversations, you're able to check in, you're able to talk about it, is so fundamentally vital. And it's just really, really necessary to make sure that we do stop these stigmas, that we are showing that you're not alone by letting, vulnerably, I also kind of feel alone. Like.
And speaking of that, like that brings up another question. So like, what's your recommendations for those people that actually recently graduate from college? Like, so do you know, like when students actually in school, they got all these organizations and they got friends they hang out with, and right after they graduate, like they don't know, basically they lose touch or lose connection from those um organizations and community, and then they finally find themselves in a very isolating atmosphere, alone in the world, and they're expecting to rebuild the community all by themselves. So, what would some important suggestion for newly grad students that are in this situation?
Oh man, that's such a good question. That's such a good question. And I don't feel like it's talked about enough, is how difficult it is making friends in adulthood. How hard it can be, when you don't have that tight knit, close group of friends, since high school, since college. You've either didn't build that like me, or they trickled off, and there's their own lives, where their own things that they're concentrating on, their own focus, and you're left kind of here just alone, like, ooh, all right, what are we doing, and let's just go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go work, go home, And so I would absolutely recommend getting out and involved in your community. There are so many different things that are available. And depending on what you like to do, there are hobby groups with respect to like DIY. If you like to craft, absolutely go online, find craft group. If you like to jog, there's jogging groups. There's hiking groups. There's different things. And with that, being able to, even just, I know for me personally, live music, being able to go to the local coffee shop, the little coffee shop bar, farmers type market type thing, and connecting with people, like, right, actually people with their emotion and their, them, and have that connection. And you don't have to talk to anyone really if you're not ready to, but being able to just dip that toe in. And I think ultimately doing it afraid is necessary, because I don't know that it not a lot of times ever goes away. I'm 37 years old, to like tell on myself, but and it still gets, kind of nerve wracking and like anxious. Like, well, what if everyone looks at me funny? What if like I'm old? Like, what if they're all young and like I'm all dressed weird? But ultimately, I don't know that I've ever had that experience of there being that's always something that we like think in our mind, right? Is going to happen. The brand, how we view and how our depression tells us that people think. Growing up and getting on the bus, I would just, I'm just nervous to get on the bus. What are people thinking? You're crazy. Like, oh, really? Get off, you crazy bird. Imagine if you got on a bus and people were like, "Oh, you're crazy! Get over here!" That's not the society we live in. Thankfully, And so, yeah, it's just, and I think that is on topic with the question. I'm pretty sure I'm a little sidetracked, but it is just that is getting out, getting into the community, trying to get involved, do a Google search and/or ask AI. I know, like every topic, but go to OpenAI. It's a free account. And just be like, hey, so what are some local community events in my zip code, that I can be involved in, and have a conversation with AI about why that particular community or that hobby wouldn't work, that one, and really take the time with AI. They are patient, really patient, really patient. You can tell them all the things. Oh, I don't want people to think whatever nervousness or anxieties, you can trauma dump into it about, the fears of getting out involved into the community. But there's absolutely a space near you in your proximity, where you are, even virtually like this here, if not physically in your purview. But reach out, really, really allow yourself to be vulnerable and know that everyone else is feeling exactly the same. There is a beautiful, beautiful mask painted online on social media and beautiful mask we wear, in public, but inside we're all feeling equally as just anxious. I feel like in that, not to discount and invalidate, anyone's experience, but just saying that it's absolutely worth it to get involved in.
Definitely, I agree. Like trying to get involved in the community is very important to prevent isolations, and even for our sake for mental health. So like it's very important to get involved even outside of school. And speaking of that, and Angelina, how are we doing on questions?
Um, on time, we have about 10 minutes. And I think on the chat, we unfortunately do not have any questions.
Okay, then we can continue another 5 minutes before we wrap things up. So Roman, you may proceed.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Cassie, for sharing that. OpenAI, I didn't even think of that as a possibility. Something I really look forward to is talking to myself, even though I'm my worst enemy, telling myself the worst things, it still feels good to get that out and just talk about it, even if it's with myself. So that's how at least I feel. The last question we're going to go ahead and ask for both you, Cassie, and you, Brendan, is going to be, what advice would you give to somebody who doesn't know how to tell their friends or their family that they are depressed? And so we'll start off with Cassie.
Ooh, so that's a hard topic to broach a lot of times. And, I think being able to have a easy, low stress environment, either, if you feel comfortable inviting them over, a friend or a family member, if you feel more comfortable texting, if you feel more comfortable with a video call, or going to a coffee shop, going to the park, whatever is going to help ease that. But, starting the conversation, even with asking them how they're doing, asking your friend, asking your family member or that, loved one, how have you been doing? Just that'll in turn a lot of times, you get to hear how they're doing. And then, you know, if they ask and or don't ask, you can share, well, I kind of asked you here and I was hoping that you might be able to talk with me. But I've been struggling a little bit. And you can just say those words. I've been struggling a little bit. And those simple words shared with a loved one will absolutely ooh, it'll allow them to be able to hold that space for you. And it can be terrifying and it can be very scary, but know that it absolutely is worth it. And, that vulnerability is paid back in spades with regards to being able to talk about, like, you know, uh, being able to process how much it impacts it.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out a bit, Cassie. Can you repeat that part?
Absolutely. Is that better?
Yeah, you sound good right now.
Yeah, I said, I was just saying to have the conversation of I'm struggling a bit. And from there, it allows the loved one and or friend to have that space and or open up, holding the space so you can open up. Amen.
And those. Oh, I'm sorry, Brendan. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I was just gonna bounce off what Cassie said. So if I'm talking specifically in my experience, it honestly just started just like that, right? It started with my friend Matthew, who first it was like, hey man, let's go to the donut shop, let's go get a drink, right? I live in a very small rural area, so that's something people do, and it went like I'm gonna cut it straight up, man. I fucked up, and that leads from that just that's how he knows, right? Very blunt, very truth. I fucked up, right? And my fuck up with myself was sorry. I'm sorry, and I probably shouldn't curse on the podcast. I'm sorry about that, guys. But that's how the conversation went. That's dead value, right? Okay, what happened, man? Be honest with me. And that's where the conversation goes. It just takes. You can do. If you guys have seen The Sopranos, right? The main character, he's kind of like testing his in the show. He's testing his nephew about his issues of his own mental health, right? If it's at a point where you're not with someone, you're unsure of how they would respond to the situation. I would personally, I would test them, right? Hey, you ever felt like that? You ever felt this problem? Whatever, right? But it's very key that you're in a controlled, like Cassie said, a very controlled environment, because you're not going to be at Starbucks blurting out your true problems, right? Because everyone does have a mask. Everyone does have the professional mask, the social mask. You're going to be in that controlled and safe environment to where that you feel okay about opening up and explaining that situation. In this case, I was in my car. I picked him up at my house, drove by and told him my situation is driving. Obviously, I'm stopping because I'm not going to be driving and talking about this. It's very high emotions going on, and it feels like when you're checking your test exam, when you're checking your exam grade, right? You're nervous. You're super nervous, right? You're so nervous, and you break out. And once you say it, getting that response, I guarantee you, if it's someone that you guys reciprocate that love with each other, it's gonna be a place of understanding. Almost 99. I don't want to say every time, but almost 99% of the time, if you know who you value and values your time, it's gonna be a place of understanding. And it just takes those words for Cassie. It was hey, I want to talk. For me, it was I fucked up, right? Just being completely blunt with the person that I love, and that's how it goes down for me. It's a really tough situation. I think the biggest part is finding who that person that loves you the way you love them.
That's beautiful. And all everything you said, you know, there's no filter. When it comes to something so real as depression, there shouldn't be a filter. Express yourself in the way you need to. If you need to say I fucked up, then hey, you fucked up, and that's how you're telling the person. But as long as you're getting it out, that's all we want. It's really hard to say. For me, it's really hard to find those words. It's really hard to say those words in general. And you guys finding those words is just beautiful. You guys are already a step ahead. We're just looking for these steps. They don't have to be ginormous steps. They can be baby steps, but they're still a step. And at the end of the day, they add up. And that's all that matters to us. You know, everybody wants to reach the finish line. That's all we want to help them do. We just want to like, hey, we're here for you. We're that support. So if you fall back, we're gonna pick you up. Keep going, keep going. We're your biggest cheerleaders on and off. All right. So this is why we're here. This is why we're talking about this. And thank you guys so much for coming on. We're going to go ahead and close off, and then you guys can get back to your day. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And to anybody watching, please, if you ever feel the need, please reach out to somebody that you trust. Even if you don't need to talk to somebody that you know, or maybe a professional. There's always different things to help you find help in whatever way that you need it. So, Abuse, take it away.
So first of all, thank you so much for everyone for joining the podcast. Like just by everyone being on the podcast today makes a big significant difference for others, and I commend you for your encouragement to come up here and talk about your personal experience about your stories and about the darkest times of your life and how to overcome those impossible situations. And for that, I admire you for your like for your courage to come out here to speak. And for that, so as for now, that's all we have. And stay tuned for our next podcast.
Do you
We will
mind
keep you
if
updated.
I thank
What?
them?
What's up?
Cassie, do you mind if I thank them for coming?
All right, sure.
Cassie and
Go
Brendan,
ahead.
thank you so much for sharing your stories. I obviously know other people, everyone knows other people's struggles, but it's like hearing it just makes me feel less lonely, and I really appreciate you guys speaking out. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, truly, truly am humbled and honored. And please, 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 you guys are not alone, and you guys are phenomenal. I appreciate you. Thank you.
And for everyone, that if you guys want to reach out to Cassie, please reach out. We will attach her contact or information on the link down below. So yeah, let's go check out the others sponsor. If it wasn't for them, this podcast wouldn't be here, and we're doing this today. So thank you so much, everyone.
Brendan, did you also have something to say?
I wanted to start off by saying I agree. I think what you guys are doing here are great. I I was aware of this event because of, obviously, I'm good friends with Roman, and he shared the importance. And I agree, right? That these are problems everyone has, and I think that if these problems go untalked about, unheard of, I think it only affects the future generations of people. As mentioned before, the world it's in such a tricky spot, right? Why add another problem to it, right? Why not try to build everyone up rather than destroy, as it kind of already is? So, yeah, thank you guys for having me as well.
You may